Welcome to the Yankee and Canuck podcast, Best Picture Series, where we talk about all the Academy Award Best Pictures, past to present.
And I'm your host, a Yankee.
And I'm your host, a Canuck.
And today we're going to be talking about Gentleman's Agreement, 1947 film. This is the 20th picture to win Best Picture. So this is essentially about Gregory Peck. He's called Phil in this. So he's a writer who's given an assignment. You got to write about antisemitism. So he tries to write about it. He can't really figure out how to go about it. So he's like, hey, what if I pretend I'm Jewish? Oh, yeah, that'll do it. So he goes out pretending he's Jewish, and people treat him differently, obviously. And that's the film. That's the whole film. There's nothing much more to it. I wish there was more that I could talk about, but that's literally it.
Yeah, it's basically his character is, deciding to write a story. So his boss has told him to explore this. He decides to write the story on anti-Semitism.
Like a news article or something.
A news article, yeah. And specifically, he's going to go undercover or whatever, or pretend to be Jewish. And it's actually a point in the film where he decides that is when he's talking to his son. And he's trying to explain anti-Semitism to his kid. And he's having a difficult time, describing it. And it's really at that point where he's like, this is pretty challenging to explain it. I'm going to commit myself to it, and I'm going to try to convince people I'm Jewish and go day to day and see how it is and report back my findings.
Exactly, yeah.
One thing I will say is the line he decides that, it pans to him and he's like, I know, I'll be Jewish. It's literally the line he says.
No.
It's a little cheesy, but what when I was thinking, I was like, he should have had a scene where you see him in Brooklyn trying to learn how to be Jewish. From, he sees some Orthodox Jewish folk or Hasidic Jews, and he's like,
God.
And then he walks up to them
with the curls and all,
and
the yarmulke.
You see him back away. He's like, well, not that Jewish, and then he just walks away.
They could have done stuff like that, but obviously the film treats the subject matter very, very seriously. So
yeah, and to be fair, it is, joking aside, I mean, anti-Semitism was a big issue for sure. It still is,
yeah.
Quite frankly, and post-war it was too. I mean, you even had a congressman in the House, using slurs against Jewish people in the House of Representatives, and so I mean, at that time, it's definitely an issue even post-war, and
which is also in the book too, which I'm going to be talking about. It's based on a book, so yeah.
So I mean, it was a, very important thing to cover. And I think that's one of the things about the film, is that the message was important. The themes are
especially
critical, so
the message itself is like, it's a good message. It's like being anti-Semitism is not cool. I get that. But I know at the time when the film came out, it was very controversial, so much so that the House of Un-American Activities were all over this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like people were summoned from the film to testify, like, are you a communist? Or whatever.
Yeah,
and as a result, one of the actors who plays Dave Goldman, one of
Garfield.
Yeah, John Garfield is the actor's name. He was summoned to testify, and he went, and then he was supposed to get another hearing, but he ended up getting a heart attack, and ostensibly because the stress of being under indictment for this bullshit whole rigmarole caused that heart attack. Maybe there were underlying causes, and this accelerated it. But yeah, I mean, it was just a very stressful time. To make this film.
They're questioning him so much, and then they're trying to get more information from him, like whose idea was this, whose idea was that, and he's like,
"How could you be so un-American?"
Yeah. Who was involved in, and he's like, well, what is this about?
What? Yeah, ultimately it was all.
And the poor guy got blacklisted for it.
Yeah, no, number of characters. I don't know if Gregory Peck was one of those actors, but
no, he. So Cary Grant was actually considered for the role. He turned it down.
Yes.
And Gregory Peck took it, and apparently his agent was like, look, Gregory, I don't think this is a good idea. There's going to be blowback for this film. Maybe you shouldn't do it. And he's like, nah, I got this.
Yeah, and which, honestly, the character plays like Atticus Finch, but with anti-Semitism as opposed to like racism against, people of color.
Correct.
So,
and his acting in this movie is not as good as that film, as To Kill a Mockingbird.
Honestly, I felt like...
Just my opinion, but...
I mean, it comes down to the material, because all these actors are really good. I mean, that's why they're cast in these tentpole roles. Gregory Peck has a certain charisma to him that is alluring, kind of like Clark Gable before him. There's just something to him, and obviously it's better in To Kill a Mockingbird, but that's because the subject matter of the material is written better in that. And like I said, I read the book, and You know, I want to pretend like, oh, it's so great and so amazing and this and that. No, it's balls. This book sucked. It was just really, really boring. That's the problem. It's just like you take a really important piece of subject matter and you somehow make it so dull to the point where I'm just falling asleep reading this. I'm like, oh, what was that? You're being discriminated? That's terrible. Or you're back to a bunch of crap that I don't care about. You know, it's just like...
I don't want to make it sound like he's not a good actor. Gregory Peck, obviously, is a great actor. I've seen him in many films. He's very good. This is probably maybe my expectations were too high, and I've seen him in other movies. So
perhaps,
I thought he was all right in this film, and I think performances in general were all right. Some better than others. It's just not. It's nowhere near as some of the others I've seen him in. So I think I was just more surprised by that in this film.
He's operating on 50%
honestly, there were times I was
capabilities or something.
Yeah, there were times I wasn't really convinced either, to be honest. So,
well,
maybe expectations were a little high, and then also the material he has to work with is a factor. Although at the same time, you have the director Kazan. He, he's known as being an actor's director, and he's obviously done great movies like on the Waterfront, and which we'll be covering soon enough.
Yeah, so it's coming up soon because now we're getting to the 50s very soon, but. Yeah, but with this one, it's just like, really? And I know the lady that plays like his wife or his love interest rather. She did a very good job. I think her name is Anne Revere is the older lady. She plays the mom. What is it? Who's the lady? Was it Dorothy McGuire plays Kathy Lacey?
Kathy was who he was engaged to.
Yeah, I think that's the one. She did a very good job with the material given to her. I felt like she was very alluring as well. And I think Dean Stockwell plays the little kid too. Yeah, I thought
the actress who played Anne did a good job too. But in general, the acting was all right across the board. I think multiple winners, I believe, right, for best actor.
I could double check.
Actress, I think.
Let's see here. Celeste Holm won.
Best supporting actress. Yes.
Yeah, so she played Anne. She was like the secretary or something like that in the newspaper mill. She was the one who, at the end of the movie, you find out he's not Jewish. She's
she's the one she's actually Jewish.
You're a Christian,
herself, but she kind of
in real life or in the movie.
No, in the movie. Remember the one lady? She's actually changed her name. She's trying to hide that she's Jewish, and she's actually in Gregory Peck, who's his character Phil isn't Jewish, but he's pretending to be.
I'm an undercover Jew. Yeah,
basically calls her a self-hating Jew, essentially.
Oh, really?
And says she's like, one thing that bothers me more, are Jewish people like you who have these type of attitudes, because she has pretty awful attitudes on Jewish people, although she's Jewish herself, right?
Yeah, she's a stereotypical self-hating Jew, is what they say.
She slurs and stuff, and she's like, but I'm not like them. I'm like, it's like, oof, what the, so. Yeah,
but if anything, because there's certain parts in the book too that are in the film that I recognize very distinctly, and they're almost note for note. Like in the beginning when Gregory Peck's character Phil is talking to his son, Dean Stockwell. I think his name is Tommy in the movie. He's like, and she's like, what are you doing, Dad? Well, we're going to pretend to be Jewish. Like, what's that? What's antisemitism? It's when people don't like Jewish people. And he goes through the explaining. And that's because initially he turns down the offer, but then upon talking about it with his son, he realizes like, oh, my son's not really understanding this, so maybe this is important to take on this assignment.
That's exactly, That's what I was saying earlier. That's really what the point where he was like, you know what, I'm going to commit myself to this, because he saw firsthand this is difficult to explain. Obviously he's trying to explain it to a kid, but it's like, you know what, this is something I need to do this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, and his kid wasn't really getting it, and now and he felt like, well, I could probably apply that to like a larger scope and stuff. And again, that's covered in the book too. And there's certain things, like I said, that are in the book that I recognize in the film. Doesn't mean those scenes are great. It's just like, oh, okay, I recognize that. But in both instances, reading this book and watching this movie, I was just like really falling asleep. It was just like not an interesting film at all. And that's like so stark because like the movie right before this is, of course, The Best Years of Our Lives. We covered that already, obviously. That's a very good film. The one before very good film. The one right before that, The Lost Weekend, very good movie. Really crappy book, though. And honestly, The Best Years of Our Lives, the book sucked on that one, too. But the movies were great. This one was just like the book and the movie were on par with their suckiness. There's just like nothing really interesting other than the core messaging. you know, and it's just like, and it's a damn shame too, because like the message is really, really important, as we keep saying. But honestly, I hate to go to this extreme, but it was more effective in Schindler's List, and obviously that's a way more messed up film, honestly, and it's just like a more extreme version of anti-Semitism, but it's just more effective because it's just the way it's portrayed, and it's not just, you know, and it's just the way that they approach that, the way the characters are talking to each other about it and stuff like that, the senseless violence. And then that's
yeah. So there's a clear distinction. Yeah, where you have films that whether it's anti-Semitism or racism in general, you have the films that show the that extreme, the violence of it, whether it's Mississippi Burning in the 80s with Willem Dafoe and Gene Hackman,
which is really good,
and Schindler's List, Spielberg, phenomenal movie as well. But then you have movies like this which are important also because they show I appreciate the subtlety of it too, right?
They had to be subtle, and that was the only way they can get this film done.
You know, and what is the gentleman's agreement, right? So that
the unspoken rule that we can't allow Jewish people in our circles.
And I've seen it firsthand as well, and experienced it, and that kind of a nod, and you see people like, what, you know, like, what's going on here, you know, like that little nudge, you know,
exactly,
wink, kind of thing. It's important to see, because these are the type of things that a lot of us, I'm not Jewish, but as a minority, I've experienced quite a few things, and
as an eagle, I'm not Jewish either.
A lot of it is, you know, is that subtle racism, or it's that it's what you see more day to day, right? And is that subtle one, not the outright violence, although that obviously historically has been the case, and is, you know, to some degree in many places. But so I think this movie does a good job with that. It's not just the violent prejudice you see that you confront all the time, but it's that those attitudes, you know, that you know, and the movie does a great job presenting that. And
I don't
at that
agree
time,
at all.
obviously, that was at that movie though. At that time, it was a unique. It was kind of it took guts to make a movie like that.
Well, like I said, it was very controversial upon release, but I think like today, like the message
trying to break that, you know, agreement, you know, and so I like that attempt.
It's just it's very hollow in today's day and age. Like I like things to be more brazen. Another thing too that works against the film is that like the gentleman's agreement, like being excluded from spaces, that's bad, but they're often very rich, uppity, high-class spaces. Like, I can't get into the country club because I'm Jewish? Oh, whoa, I am outraged. I'm like, poor you. I mean, I'm like, I mean, like, if it was like a more of a middle-class struggle, or a poor, you know, more down to that kind of a, I guess you can say a caste system sort of societal thing. Then I would say like a class different kind of a thing. Yeah. So, I mean, like it would be like more effective, I feel, but it's just a bunch of rich people being uppity, but they're not included in these rich people things. And I'm like, okay, for you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really, and I guess they had to do that back in the day because like, it was more like, I don't know. It's kind of like Grand Hotel. It's a bunch of rich people or people in a rich people situations being all uppity, like, oh, things are not as uppity as they should be. And I'm like, poor you. Woohoo, boohoo. Oh, man. I couldn't relate to that. So it's just like, it's hard for me to really give a shit. So that kind of extended to this film as well. It's just like, the issue is important, but the situations surrounding it, I could care less. Whereas again, Schindler's List, again, more extreme, but a lot of those people were lower middle and upper middle class. So all kinds of people were being affected by this tragedy.
It's a very direct movie. I think that's what you also will find. So this, that year, there was, it wasn't the first movie to cover this, right? There was a movie called Crossfire that came out a few months before Gentleman's Agreement.
Crossfire! And very similar theme. You get caught up in the... That is a board game from the early 90s for those who don't understand that. That was a jingle.
That's a good one. I haven't thought about that in a minute. But,
that's a game that you play for like a minute, and after that, you don't want to play anymore. But anyway, continue.
Right, Crossfire. Oh man, but they took a different approach with it. It's more of a murder mystery, you know, noir film. And while this movie's a straight up drama, and with a little bit of a romance soap opera vibe to it here and there, which we can get into as well. I thought that was problematic at times. But anyways, so you had that movie that come out. I think a lot of people, I haven't seen Crossfire. I do want to watch it. But apparently a lot of people say that's the better movie. and I think it was nominated for some. Didn't win any awards, I don't think, but it obviously didn't win Best Picture
Obviously
because
not.
Gentleman's Agreement did. So, but and there was a novel as well, which I think covered homophobia instead of anti-Semitism, specifically in the military setting, I believe. But they changed it for the film, is what I
Ah,
gathered.
okay.
Yeah. So I'll probably get around to watching that more. It's more of a thriller, right? Film noir. And so I think, but anyways, I digress.
We got what we got, and this is what we got. So
This is what we got. Yeah. Well, one thing I noticed, I kind of, what I kind of thought initially when he was taking he made the decision to pretend he's Jewish. And so I kind of had like, it's not a real gonzo journalism approach, but I actually thought that there was a little bit of that early taking that early aspect or tenet of it, and it kind of maybe like in some way foreshadowed the inception of gonzo journalism.
yeah,
And
Hunter S.
obviously
Thompson style writing.
exactly right. This has more objective truth to it, obviously, than gonzo journalism kind of goes all over the place a little bit from that.
And for those who don't know what gonzo journalism is, it's just a pseudo fictional. It's like half fictional, half reality based reporting.
Yeah, if you've seen like so he was very famous for he became a Hell's Angel and uncovered a lot about them and wrote and discussed that. So very different scenario, but like kind of like that. He's to find out more and experience it more. He at that level he goes in there, and so and then Thompson, of course, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, so many things, and wrote extensively on Nixon and Watergate and things like that. But anyways, I digress. But so I kind of had that. There was a little bit of a gonzo vibe to it. It's not really in this film, but it has a little bit of that element to it, which is what came to my mind as a fan of Hunter S. Thompson, and so. But I thought I'd mention that. Like we've already stressed, the messaging is important, right? It's critical, and I think the movie did a good job with what they were trying to accomplish, right? And there was blowback for it, and I really praise that. And it's just so in that aspect, I appreciate it a lot, right? But I just wish the film itself was better because it's just I don't think it's that good of a film, and that's the problem. There's some aspects that connect to the main parts of the film, but then there's some things that spend time on it, and it leads to a point that should be made, but I don't know if it needed to be made in this manner. For example, the mom and her health, right? That's a lot of time spent on there. I get it. You're learning more about his home life with his family or his mom and his kid. And the point they make later in the film is it's about hospitals and Jewish doctors. But that's a lot of information they put in the movie just to lead to that, so it connects.
They even have like a quote with the doctor, like, "Oh, Jewish doctors." That's in the book too.
And sure, yeah, it's an important point to make, especially at that time. Maybe that was a huge factor. Maybe but the lead up during the movie about her health and all that kind of just follows. Just to make that point, which is a good point to make because it is part of the central thing. I just don't know if that's the right way to go about it, in my opinion. So I think that angle, and there's a few other angles that kind of, I think I don't know. It's hard to explain too because they accomplish it, but is this the manner? Was it the most efficient way to put this in to make that one point?
No.
So
no,
yeah.
It would have been a lot better if he went to the bank. He tried to get a loan. They can't get him a loan because they think he's Jewish, or
right.
If they did
the
things
hotel
like
was
that,
another example.
Yeah, the hotel was like a lame example though. It's just like, oh, boo-hoo, I can't get my reservation. I'm like, bro, what?
However, a good example was Dave's character Garfield. I actually think in many ways Dave should have been the main character of the film. I think that would have
been slightly more interesting than Phil. Yeah,
he's telling his experience, and he's actually, I think, and he's actually Jewish, the actor and the character.
Oh, okay.
And so I think that would have even been better. And then Gregory Peck's character is pretending to be Jewish, sure, but he's working with Dave on this article. Sure, it's a different movie than in many aspects, but I think it's a more, I don't want to say realistic approach, but it's a different approach. I think that would have been beneficial. Just
I like the undercover aspect of it. That to me is fine.
That's good too, though. It does
work. Just the scenarios weren't strong or interesting enough. It's just like, again, if they would have crafted scenarios, like if he's in dire straits, oh, we really need the money. We really need to write this. Oh, I guess I'm going to have to be undercover Jew. Oh, you can't do that because it's going to cause us a lot of problems, but we need the money. If there was more of an like an actual thing that needed to be done to further that cause, to justify him getting into this and being like, oh, Josh G. Willikers, I guess people need to know about this. I'm like, that's fine, I guess, but at the same time, it doesn't lend itself well to like a lot of drama for the film, because again, look at the Lost Weekend, for instance. That is like about a belligerent drunk that goes around. He's just like, I need to get money for my alcohol. And it's just like, at times it's too much, but at the same time, it's just like, well, that's an alcoholic's life. As cartoonishly over the top as it can be at times, it does drive the narrative forward, and you don't really get that in this one. It's just Gregory Peck being Gregory Peck, being like, I can't stand for this. I'll grandstand about this. And I'm like, that's cool, dude, but is there more to this? Because I could easily just read an article about this instead of watching a whole movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I agree. But like I said, I mean, it's an important movie, I think. And I think based on how important it is, the messaging and all that, and the courage it took to make it, I'll give him credit for that. The film itself, I think, is flawed. I think there's problems with it as a movie when it comes to the actual movie and the production itself. So I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah, but ultimately, for me, this film does not work as intended. At the time, it did, and I understand the importance of the film coming out during that time. And of course, it made money. The book was a big bestseller, and which prompted them to make the movie. And even in spite of pressures of certain actors not being told not to be in it, or even not to make the movie at all, they made it anyway, and it won these accolades, and it was successful. So all around, there was like an appetite for a film like this. But years later, no. Like I personally would not recommend this film. There are better films on the subject matter, probably not as brazen as I keep mentioning Schindler's List. I'm sure that there are better examples than that, of course, that I can't think of at the moment at the top of my head. But as far as this is concerned, I mean, I'd give this probably a 4 out of 10. This is a snoozer. If you want to fall asleep, but you can't fall asleep, put this thing on. You'll fall asleep in no time. All right, guys. So that is Gentleman's Agreement. That is another one in the bag, 20th one. So the next one is based on a classic play. Everyone's heard about this. Everyone knows all the little famous lines and stuff like that. I've done balls deep research into this one because I couldn't help myself. But until then, see you in the next one.
See you guys. Take care.